Okay, good morning, everyone. Let's just start off the session because I see that less and less people are entering. So let's just start it off. So today's session will mainly focus on Git commands and the Git basics and Git and basics for your GitHub. I hope everyone here has a GitHub account and hopefully also Git installed. If not, please do it by the end of today. If you have Git installed, that's well and good. You can follow through with the examples I'll be presenting. As for GitHub, you will require it for all of your assignments going forward. Rest assured, today we will not be giving you out any assignments because we understand that internals are coming near and fourth years also have placements to consider. So for today, it'll just be getting you accustomed to Git and its basics. So to start off, let me present my screen. Okay, so to start off, I will need you all to be up to speed with some of the Linux commands that I'll be using to traverse directories, add or remove files, etc. So I found this really good list that just puts all of the important Linux commands into one concise list. You don't need to know all of them, but I would suggest you to please go through a few. So I will also be using a few of them and showing them off to you. So let me open the terminal. In Windows, this can be your command prompt, and in Mac, it's just your terminal again. So pwd, it's just your present working directory. It prints where you are in the directory. In Windows, it would be c:/ whatever directory you're on. Simple enough. Now cd is one of the more important commands that I'll be using. That is, it is used to traverse through a change directory. So right now, let me use pwd again. I'm at /home/Vineet Kalgati, right? So if I want to move to a folder, say called documents, which I know is there, I say cd documents and I move to that folder. I guess this is a little bit not clear. So you can see this, it is in cd, it is in /documents. So now one more command that I'd like to use is ls. ls is, I think in Windows it's dir, and in Mac ls works. ls works as well, I believe. So ls is just used to list the contents of the current directory. So if pwd was to list what directory I'm on, ls would list what files I have in that directory. So these are the files I have in this directory. So the files and folders, so to speak. Moving on, of course, that's the ls command. The cat command is, well, it's not important for today's session, but let me just brush over it. So it's just used to, the main use of it is it stands for concatenate, but it's mainly used to display the contents of a file. So if I had a test.txt or in this case some file.txt, cat file.txt would display the contents of the file right here. Okay. Now these two are two more. Yeah, switch.
Hello, yeah, I just want to add one point. Yeah, so cat is not only for the displaying, so you can even create a file. So you have the cat greater than symbol, right? So you can create the file. So basically you don't have any editor. So you do cat greater than a file name. So this terminal, whatever you write in the terminal will be stored in that particular file. So
Right.
if you're seeing the second command, so what it does is, so cat a file name greater than another file name. So whatever contents of the first file name, it copies it to the second file name. And go a little up, Navneet. We'll talk about the options in ls command.
I don't want to spend too much time on it, but okay, let's just go through it quickly.
So ls, you have commands. So you have something called l, so which will list out all. It'll just list out. So use -l. So -l is so any commands in Linux you give a hyphen to it and you give the command. So -l will give a list of your detailed information about each and every file. So the starting will be the permission. Next, you'll have the number of links, I believe. Next is the owners. Next, you'll have the size. Next, you'll have the date. And next, you'll have the file name. So regarding the permissions, it will be in the form of, so the first dash denotes whether it's a file or a directory. If it's a D, then it's a directory. Or else, if it's a dash, then I think it's just a file name. So later it is like read, write, execute, read, write, execute, read, write, execute.
Right.
Yeah.
So the options you mentioned are, as I said, is given by ls and any command with the dash option. So if you want a full list of the options, if you're using Linux on a virtual machine or Linux on your system, I would suggest use the man command. It's short for manual. It just gives you all the details of the command you give it as an input. So if I say man ls, it would give me the it's just a manual directory for this command. What the name is, what it does, what are all its options, etc. So right, coming back to the cat command, as you said, yes, you can use it to create a file. You can use it to join two files, which is its namesake, concatenate, and it's a very versatile command, so to speak. Right, but moving on, the cp command is used to, as the name suggests, copy files from one directory to another. So you provide one directory as the file what you're trying to copy, and another destination directory to where you're copying from. So if you if the example they've given is cp scenery.jpg and the directory where they want to copy to. So what this does is it will not remove this, but it will create a copy of this scenery.jpg in the pictures folder. Simple enough. Moving on, the mv command is used to move files. So it just does what the cp command does, but it's more of you could think of it like as a cut and paste instead of a copy and paste, right? One more interesting thing about the mv command is it can also be used to rename a file. So the idea is if you move the same file to the same location with a different name, it will have a different name, right? So let me just move on now. The mkdir command is pretty simple, as the name suggests. It makes a directory, mkdir. So if I say mkdir test directory and I hit ls to check if it's done, you can see that it has made a test directory of that. And I can even go to the test directory and say create a test.txt out. You can see that the test.txt is created. So this is how I'll be using the terminal to move about the file structure. So so let me just brush past the last few ones. The rmdr command removes a directory. However, it will not remove any directory which does not which is not empty. The rm command can remove files as well as directories which have their contents in. Excuse me. As I was saying, coming to the touch command, this will be the last command that I will go through. You're free to go through the rest. I will give the link in the chat section. So I would please urge you to go through the rest. So coming to the last command that I'll go through today is the touch command. The touch command is the primary use of it is to change the file timestamps, the timestamps of a file. But what it's usually used for is to create a new file, right? So if I'm in my test directory, my empty directory, and it has my test.txt. So instead of saying cat greater than, this time I'll say touch test2.txt, right? So Now, if I hit the ls, you can see that I've created my test2.txt. Simple enough. So now let's move to the agenda of today's meeting, that is Git. So I hope everyone has installed Git. The way you check if Git has been installed in a system is you hit Git and you do -- version. So if it gives you a version number, that means your Git has been successfully installed on your system. For Windows users, I know that it downloads like a convenience terminal called Git Bash. Uh, don't worry too much about Git Bash. It's more of a convenience tool that comes along with Git for Windows, because in Windows commands like pwd, ls, and all do not work because it's Unix based and Windows has their own set of commands. However, as long as your Git version is working either on your Git Bash or your command prompt or PowerShell or whatever terminal you're using on Windows, it's fine. You can follow through with me. So let me go up one directory. So -- is the shorthand for the parent directory. So cd -- will take me one directory up. So that is documents. And let me create a directory called Git Basics. And then let me go navigate to the Git Basics directory. Now, I would like you guys also to download VS Code, that is Visual Studio Code. So you can just Google VS Code download. You can download for Windows, Mac, or Linux. If you would like, I can just quickly give you the download link. It's not necessary. It's not essential for today's session, but it is very important to have it downloaded before the club activities and the club assignments start. Right. So moving back, once you download VS Code, it gives you a utility command called code, which is basically used to open VS Code. So the command is code, and if I hit a dot after it, it will open all the file. It will open all the files under this folder. So basically, I'm opening this folder. So if you don't want to use the command line to open VS Code, you can just open VS Code as it is, as it shows up in your start menu. Go to File, and you say Open Folder and open modern folder you created. Right. So now there is a VS Code also gives you a way to open the terminal right within the app itself. To do that, you hit the Control and the tilde sign that is present to the left of your one key, the number one key. Okay, so I have it's just the terminal, but it's baked into the application. So now coming to Git, let me first create a file called essay.txt. Say. Okay, so now I have this essay.txt. So what Git is so the way normal files work is, as you know, I make some changes. Say this is my first line, etc., and it will record all of these changes. And if I hit save, now it saves those changes, right? And it also has a way to go back through to those changes. So if I hit Control Z, that is undo, it undoes my whatever I've entered last. So those three dots, then the word line, then the word second, I made a mistake there, stuff like that. So Git takes that and adds on a lot to it. So if I go to my Jamboard here, so what a normal text file does would be, it would take all the changes, make a save, right? And then records all of the changes. So this would be changes, records all the changes until the next save, right? And if I want to go back to those changes, I cannot, and if I want to go back to this set of changes while retaining this set of changes, it's not possible, right? Because all it does is once I hit undo, it completely goes back to these changes, completely wiping off this one. So what Git does is it will record all of those changes in what we call a commit. So, and once it records the commit, it would give it its own unique ID called commit hash. So you can uniquely identify each commit as they happen. So this would have one ID, and you make some few more changes with one more commit, and this would have another ID, and so on. So let's see that happening in action. So before you do any commands in Git, you would be required to run a few two commands called Git Config. Right? It's Git Config user dot name with your name and user dot email with your email. Right? Just run those two commands. Give your name and email in single quotes here, and just run those two commands. If not, if you try to use them, Git itself will give an error saying you haven't run these commands, and it will just give those two commands as they are. So you won't have a lot of trouble with it. So coming to the actual Git. So now to make this folder, that is the Git basics folder, as a folder which is a Git repository, what I would need to do is I would need to hit Git init. So what this says is initialize the current folder as a Git repository. So if I hit Git init, it'll tell me that it has initialized an empty Git repository in this folder. So now to check if it has successfully done that, there is another command called Git Status. Right? What status this is? It gives you the status of your current of your repository. So currently, I have one untracked file, that is my sa.txt. By untracked, I mean it is not currently it's not currently tracking the changes of this file. That is to say, for the next commit, it will not include this file unless I specifically ask it to do so. So let's ask it to do so. So to do that, there is another command, which is Git Add. So now I have to add this sa.txt to the staging process. Sorry. So dot is just a shorthand to just add all of the files that is in the directory. So now if I hit Git Status, I can see that I have this sa.txt in the staging process, and it's going to record all my changes to this file. So if I hit say this is my intro line, whatever. So now this line, even in VS Code, it has picked up that, oh, I have added one line. So that's why it's given in green. And if I were to change this line, it says, oh, I have changed this line, which is in blue. So let me get back to this and have this line as it is. Close this window over here, hit save. So now if I hit Git Status, it'll give me it'll say, well, you have added a new file sa.txt to the staging process, and you have made some changes to that sa.txt. So now I have to do what's the equivalent of hitting Control-S or file save in a normal text file, but for a Git repository. That is, I have to commit the changes. So now that I've added all the changes, what I can do is I can do Git Commit, and I have to give it a commit message. So that is done by my giving -m. So -m and the message within double quotes. So this is the equivalent of hitting save in a normal text file, but you will see how this becomes a bit more complicated and a bit more versatile in just a few minutes. So let me just save these changes, and I say my first essay, something like that. So it has made that change, that the changes, the one file has been changed and it has made one insertion in that file, that is the one line added, and it has created one file that is called essay.txt. Right? So now if I hit git status again, it will show me that I have modified my essay.txt, because what I had done first is I had added this line and then I committed that line, but I had not added the change of this line. So what has happened is I have written one line. I said then add that modification to the staging process, and then commit, and then I've added the second line. So this is saying, oh, there's still one modification, that is this second line, that is yet to be added to the staging process. So let me add that as well. And then I say git commit -m, and this would be my second line, something. Now if I do git status, it will tell me there's nothing to commit, the working tree is clean, which just means that I have not made any more changes since my latest commit. So now if I want to see all my commits so far, git status would not do it for me, right? So there's another command that we can use, that's called Git Log. So what this does is it just shows me all the commits I've made so far. And this is what I've been talking about, that is the unique identifier that is given to each commit. So on this commit, I had created this file as well as added my first line. And in the, and in this commit, I had added the second line. So I hope everyone's following me so far. If not, you can drop any questions if you have in the chat. Okay, everyone's clear? All right then. So moving on to another integral part of Git, that is branches. So now reiterating on the fact that I had said before, in a normal say text file, in a normal folder that is not a repository or a normal file which is not in a Git repository, all you can do is you can make a save, do the changes, make another save, do some more changes, make another save until you get the final version. If you want to go back, you can go back only in this linear path, right? So if I say I've made a mistake in this save, I want to go back, you hit undo, go back till this save and make those changes and you come back. But by then, these changes have been completely removed. So what if there was a way where I can go back to this, where in this save, I can create a new branch, say, I can add another line, an experimental line, say, some paragraph which I'm not sure of in my essay, right? I don't know how it will work out with the entire thing. So I want to just experiment with that one paragraph for that one line. If it doesn't work out, or delete it. If it does work out, I want to add it to my main essay. So what if I can make changes in a branched manner, right? So that's what Git allows us to do. So if you say I've made a commit, and then I made one more commit, which is what we've done so far. These are my two commits I've made so far. What if I create a branch, say called if there's a way to add text here, yeah, say called feature. And that feature will get some more commits. Say this is, they say this, say this is like a line which I'm not sure of, which I want to experiment with until I'm absolutely sure that it works with me, with my main essay. And I can go through and keep committing to my main branch as I were normally. So I can add more and more lines over here, as well as add this extra paragraph or extra line on the side. And now if I'm at one point, if I say, okay, I'm satisfied with the changes I've made here, it's ready to be incorporated to the main, I can do something that is called as a merge. So I can take this branch, right? I can take this branch which has all of its changes and merge all of their changes back into the main branch. So let's see how that would work and why we would even need to do that. So right now I have my 2 commits. The way you create a new branch is you say git checkout -b and give the branch name. So I want this to be an my conclusion. Right, I want to add an experimental conclusion to my essay. So it has switched to a new branch called conclusion. Also, by the way, I forgot to say that the main branch which you always start off with is always known as the master branch. So this is the master branch, the straight line going over here. And at the second commit, I have created a new feature branch, which I want. Okay, let me change it because the name was actually conclusion, right? So I've created a conclusion branch. So which I want to say, I want to add an experimental conclusion to my essay. And then once I've done with this, when I'm satisfied with the changes, I can merge it back to my master branch. So let's do that. So the way you can see what branch you're on and what branches are there in the entire repository is you run the command git branch. So as you can see, there's a master branch. So this is the master branch. And then we have the conclusion branch, which I just created. And I've shifted to the conclusion branch, which means whatever changes I make so far will be reflected upon this branch only. So let me make some changes there. So I can say this is my conclusion. This is my experimental conclusion to essay, right? So I hit save on this and I add those changes, and as well as I commit those changes to say added a conclusion. Now if I do git status, it will tell me it's on the branch conclusion. So this branch, and I've made a commit. So I'm at this point, I've made some changes and I've made this commit. So you can say that I am at this point of the tree right now. I have made 2 changes in my 2 commits to my master. I have switched to another branch called conclusion. I have made 1 change and committed that. So I'm at this point. Right. So let me make one more change. So say let's just add a very simple change, say final line. And then I say git status, it will tell me, yes, you modified this line in this branch. So I add that. So far I've been adding it using dot. You can also add it using the actual file name itself. So I can say sa.txt, right? And you can give as many file names as you want. You could say git add sa.txt, sa2.txt, of course, if it exists. So right now we don't need to do that because I've already added sa.txt. So now let me commit that change as well. So git -m. Let me call it final line added. Also, as you can see, I'm making all my commit messages meaningful, so that if if someone comes to this repository and does a git log, they can understand what's happening through all of the logs. So you can say, oh, they added a second line, they added a conclusion, they added a final line, etc., etc. So now let me use the git branch command again, just to see what branch I'm on currently. So currently I'm on the conclusion branch. What if I want to go back to my master branch, right? So that's a very easy command called git switch. So I I say git switch back to my master branch. This is saying switch back to the master branch. So it's switched to the master branch, which, as you can remember, does not have those two commits, right? So I've made these two changes in my master branch, and I made these two changes in my conclusion branch, but I've not yet merged them. So master branch does not know that these two changes even exist, right? So to do that, what I would do is git merge conclusion, if I remember correctly, git merge conclusion to master. So what I'm saying is I will merge these two changes to the master branch. Once I do that, now you can see that these have the two branches have merged together. That is, I'm at this point, and master branch now knows of these two. So these two changes have become part of the master branch itself. So now if I do a git status, it will tell me not, on branch master, nothing to commit, working tree is clear. So I hope that has been clear for you so far. If there's any questions, please put it in the comments. Okay, let's move on. Now coming to GitHub. So I hope everybody has an account created on GitHub. So get the.
Vineet,
Yes.
Anshuman here. Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt in between.
No. You can go on.
Two things. One thing is that generally when we write Git messages, the convention is to write it in imperative sentences, as in it should sound like you are ordering someone to do it. Like, for example, you have fixed a bug in the changes, and you're writing a Git message. So it should not be fixed bug or added this. It should be fixed bug or add this line. So the messages should be in imperative sentences.
Okay.
Also, the branches you were talking about, you can see a visual representation of branches in Git in terminal itself. Just run Git Log all decorate one line graph. It will show you all the Git hyphen all Git Log hyphen all.
Oh, sorry.
Git Log, yeah. Hyphen decorate. Again, one line hyphen one line hyphen graph. So okay, you have only one branch here.
Yeah, because I've merged it.
I've merged. You have merged it. Okay. Otherwise, yes. It shows all the whole thing as a graph that what all things were done at what point.
Understood. Yes.
Yeah. So.
I guess that would have been an easier way to explain. But I guess the drawing does the same purpose.
Yes.
So getting back to GitHub, once you log into GitHub, this is how the homepage would look like. It's as simple as any social media website you have gone to. So to create a new GitHub repository in your GitHub account, what you would do is you hit new here, or you can also go here and say, new there only. And you have to give it a repository name. So for now, let me give this repository name as my essay, right? So, and let me just give it a description. This is my essay. Say something. So that's something meaningful. And you can choose whether it remains public or private. These are just simple as they sound. Public means anybody can see it on the internet. Private means only you can commit to it, only you can pull changes from it, etc. So let me create this repository. Okay, so once you create an empty repository, GitHub does all the hard work of telling you how to manage this repository from your local repository itself. So we've done all of this. We have done the git init. We have done git adding files. In this case, it's asking us to add a README file, which I'll get to in a second. We've done the comments, we've done the commits, and we've made all the changes. What's left is to add a connection between this local Git repository. So if this was my, say, my local Git repository, I also have a remote Git repository that is on my GitHub account, which I just created. So I need to create two streams for this. So which is called an upstream and a downstream, right? So this is the upstream. And this is the downstream. What this basically means is I can take the changes to the to this local repository that I've made so far, and I can push those changes to my remote GitHub repository, to my remote Git repository. And in the same way, if this remote repository, that is the one in my account, has changed in a way that is not in sync with my own local, I can pull those changes. So to make it more clear, I can say you can push the changes, or you can pull the changes as well. So to do this, it's just two simple commands called git push and git pull. But the actual point is to create these streams, to create this connection. So to do that, it's pretty simple. You just say git remote add, which means you're adding a remote variable. That means you're adding the URL to which you want to commit, you want to add your upstream and downstreams to. So in this case, it is they've given the URL for this repository, that is github.com/ this is my username / and this is the name of my Git repository. So let me just run this command. Let me just copy this this URL, go back to my terminal and say git remote add, and I have to give the remote a name as well. As you can see here, I have to give the remote a name. The best practice is to name it origin, but you can give it any name you want. And for now, let's just follow best practice and call it origin. And I will add in the URL that I just copied. So now I have added a remote variable called origin, which is to this URL. So to see that it has been successfully added, I can run a command called git remote and then give it a -v, which stands for verbose. So this shows me the two streams that I add. So this is the fetch and this is the push. So basically, pull and push is what they mean. So what they mean is the two streams they've created is the upstream and the downstream to my local Git repository, that is to this URL, right? To make it completely clear. Right. So this is my remote GitHub repository, and I've created an upstream as well as a downstream to this remote repository. So now I want to push all of the changes I've made so far. That is the 2 lines, the conclusion, the second line, the final line of the conclusion, etc., etc. To do that, what I have to do is git push, right? So this is saying push my changes to the remote repository, and I have to say, okay, which upstream will I be using? Okay, I'll be using the upstream that is defined in the origin variable. So now when I said origin, it says, okay, I have to push the changes to this URL, to this endpoint. origin, and it will ask me to what is the default branch you want to push these changes to. So to push all these changes, the remote repository also has to have a branch, right? So by default, as with the local repository, it also has the default name of the branch as master. So I want to push my changes to the upstream defined in this origin variable to its master branch. So once I do that, it will start actually writing the changes to over the HTTPS protocol to my GitHub account. So now when I go there, you can't see the changes immediately, but if I refresh the page once, you can see that I have this sa.txt added, and if I go to my commits, I can see that I have all my commits, that is my first essay, second line, add conclusion, etc. added. And you can see that, and this is another nifty tool to see what all branches have. You can see that it has only one branch because I had created a conclusion branch, but in the end I ended up merging it. So essentially there's only one branch, so to speak. So that is how you create a local repository, push the changes, make some changes, and push the changes to your remote repository. So if there's any questions, you can put them in the chat so far. Also, Anshuman, any comments so far as to how the session went?
Yeah, so just you should also tell that how if they create a new branch and that is a work in progress, how do you push the new branch to remote repository?
Right. So if you have say 2 or 3 branches in the remote repository, so let's say over here I have more than one branch, that means master, say another branch called intro, conclusion, whatever, and I want to push the changes to that branch, or all I have to do is git push the origin and the branch name. So if the branch name over there is conclusion, I hit conclusion. Am I right?
Hyphen U, Vinith.
Oh yeah, sorry, hyphen U. Sorry, I missed that. Yeah, hyphen U, conclusion. So for your assignments right now, you would not have to worry too much about branches, but it is always good to know about them because you will be using them when you work on web development on a work level, on a corporate level. So, but for your assignments, if you know your commits, your Git commits, your Git push, your Git add, your Git status, and you're comfortable with using those, that's more than enough for this web development club. So I said I wouldn't give you guys any assignments, but one short assignment I would give is please try out what I've done so far, like play around with Git, use the commands, use Git push, Git add, stuff like that. I will send you guys a cheat sheet of all the commands so that you can look at all the commands at a quick glance. So once the internals get over, we will start off with our first assignment. That is, you guys will be required to make your own portfolio website as well as maintain a Git repository for it, local as well as remote. So I'd suggest you, if all of what you've seen you hearing for the first time, please like refresh, watch some videos on YouTube, read some blogs about it, get comfortable with Git, and the club activities would go a lot smoother if you do that as early as possible. And coming to the Google Classrooms, we have it has been created. We will be sharing the details of them tomorrow, so all of you guys can join the Google Classrooms, where we'll be giving all the documents such as the cheat sheet, the prerequisites, how to download VS Code, Git, etc. and also tell all your friends who weren't able to join this meeting the same. So if you guys have any questions, now's the time to add in. And if Anshuman or Suvich have any closing thoughts, please, if you can share them right now.
Yeah, nothing from my side.
Here too.
Okay then. So I think this is a good point to drop off. Let me just summarize what we've done so far. I would like you to go through those the basics of the Linux commands so that you won't have to scrounge around the UI for everything, and it can be more productive. But that isn't the main reason why you should be learning Linux commands. It's because when you make a website and you deploy it to a remote server, the only connection you have with that server is through the terminal. You won't have a graphical user interface. You won't have your file explorer. You won't have your VS Code, nothing. So it is essential that you get comfortable with these Linux terminal commands as early as possible, because it will only help you in the long run. Coming to the Git commands, yes. So please try what I've demonstrated so far at home. Try it with the system. Download Git, create how many files you want. Try creating branches, merge them, make remotes, push the changes to your GitHub profile. Try all of that. See where the errors happen, and Google the errors. Try fixing the errors on your own. That's how you guys learn. So I hope you guys can do that before our next session, which would be shortly after CIE 1, where we will officially kick off the assignment part of our clubs, where you will have to create a portfolio website. So I guess, yeah, that's about it. You guys, thank you, everyone. You guys can log off. Thank you. Thank you, Anshuman. Thank you, Suvich. And thank you, man. And thank you, everyone else.